So your 2026 National Defense Strategy downgraded the Middle East and didn't label it as a core strategic theater on the same level as the Indo-Pacific and the Western Hemisphere. Is that correct?
I think we said that we were very clear-eyed and specific about the threat posed by Iran and by its missile program and the potential for a resumption of its nuclear program after Operation Midnight Hammer and the need to give the president options working with our
But on the core strategic theater question, it was the Indo-Pacific and the Western Hemisphere that should be the focus.
The overarching focus of the American military, obviously, is the Homeland Hemisphere and the First Island chain, and the Middle East is part of that.
That's how I read it. So here's the thing. I'm trying to understand whether you believe Iran can be primarily contained by our regional partners, which is what you wrote a few weeks ago, or is it an imminent threat to the United States, as President Trump, Secretary Hegseth, and Secretary Rubio have told the American people over the last few days? Can't be both.
Well, the strategy had in mind the Operation Midnight Hammer. Obviously, in the past, it was written before Operation Epic Fury, but we fully anticipated providing the president with credible military options to deal with the Iranian threat.
Because here's the thing, Mr. Secretary. None of us here heard about Iran having missile technology that was that advanced, being able to range the United States, or being close to obtaining a nuclear weapon. I mean, the last thing we heard from the president on the nuclear weapon before, this war, as he calls it, was the Iranian nuclear program was obliterated. That means completely eliminated, gone for good. That's what obliterated means. And then on Saturday, this administration started a war on that basis, inconsistent with the document that I think you're responsible for. And now, at least 6 U.S. service members have paid the ultimate price, based on this notion that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States, to the homeland, and to our military. And many more are risking their lives right now to eliminate a threat that 6 weeks ago, when you published that document, you didn't really believe existed.
If you read in the Old Testament, in the Battle of 5 Kings, when the children of Israel were going to the Promised Land, the Battle of 5 Kings tried to destroy Israel. And God sent hailstones from heaven and killed most of those people. The Bible says in one verse, and the stones from heaven killed more than the swords of Israel. The point is, God has these 3 weapons ready for Russia, for Iran, and for Turkey, and everybody that follows them in the near future. This is going to happen.
Good evening. It is Thursday, the 5th of March. It is episode 72 of The Whiners. It's Ryan, it's Jeff, it's Morgan, and we have honored to have with us Mikey Weinstein. He can't hear us, though. Something happened on your side there, Mikey. I'm not sure. Nope, you were muted. Morgan, you can hear me? Jeff, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
All right.
Can you hear us now?
Morgan, you have his phone.
You guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Oh, my.
Well, Morgan,
that
you
is
have
on
his
his
phone
turn.
number, but I don't know if you can guide him into fixing it. You want to
Well, I
send
don't
me
know
his
what the
phone number?
issue would be. Pardon me.
You can't hear us. He can't hear us. Let me finish the introduction while we work on that.
Or why don't you text me his phone number and I'll call Mikey?
Military Religious Freedom Foundation.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, we got. Let's see here.
Okay, is it a issue with the volume on your
No,
computer at all? I don't know.
I'm just I just unmuted the mic.
Maybe he muted the mic.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but I don't know if you can.
I can't hear you
us.
guys. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Maybe he muted his mic.
We were doing fine before the.
What? Right, Morgan. Maybe he muted his mic.
But that's
He just muted it, but it wouldn't affect us hearing or
Mikey?
him hearing us.
Tell him.
You want you guys to try to log back in?
Sure.
Hold in?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, I'll click out and try to log back in.
All right.
Thanks,
Sorry.
All right, sorry, folks.
I still think you should send me his phone number so I can guide him if
Just
this
in
doesn't work.
case.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well,
All right. So why don't we talk wine while we're waiting for Mikey?
what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Carmenere. Are you familiar with that?
Is it Spanish?
Well, it's a Chilean wine, but I think the grape is originally from France. And I wasn't familiar with it at all, but I poked around the internet and found that it's, the signature wine of Chile. It's very popular there.
You like it?
Yeah, I do like it. And I especially
so
like
let's
it
see if
with
you can hear
my
us
new
now.
decanter.
I think he can. Okay.
All right.
Awesome. I guess
So
it's just a little
Mike,
glitch.
can you hear us there?
Can I have some wine? I like really sweet, like Moscatos or sweet white. If there's any of that, I'll take some.
Well, certainly when
thi-
things cool down for you, I know that you are certainly doing your rounds.
This is what I'm
what's in the
having.
news lately.
Okay.
So we wanted to have you on to talk about that because I know your time is very limited. Mikey Weinstein is the president and founder of the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. And he has been in the news with some of his clients who have come forth to tell the truth that commanders are utilizing biblical stricture to justify the war in Iran, equating it to the end times. So, Mikey, I want to kind of give you the floor and start talking about what your organization and kind of what's been happening to some of these soldiers.
Well, first, thank you guys for having me on today. Morgan was so kind, and I know we've done some stuff before. A film that I was in, we got several film projects that are actually going now. One of them a dramatic narrative film, actually, not even a documentary. But we've been around by way of background. We're in our 21st year. We're a large civil rights organization. Our job is to protect the wall separating church and state, where all the nuclear weapons are, and the technologically most lethal organization ever created by our species, Homo sapiens, which is the U.S. military, where all the nukes are, all the laser-guided weapons, the conventional weapons, all the drones. We represent a little more than, quite a bit more than 100,000 members of the U.S. military, active duty, reserve guard, veterans. This includes members of the Coast Guard, and that's DHS, not DOD, or we won't even say the Department of War, and the U.S. Maritime Service, which is the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, which is the Department of Transportation. You guys can go to our website at mrff.org. The easy way to remember it is MrFirefighter.org. It doesn't stand for that. It stands for Military Religious Freedom Foundation, but it's a very hard fight. I'm not complaining, but we all woke up Saturday morning and realized, hey, ta-da, we're in a war with Iran. It wasn't too many hours later, we started getting reach outs from our clients, most of them Christians, by the way, that their commanders were in a series of different scenarios and in meetings and with discussions were equating this news of the attack on Iran as being in full biblical prophecy with the book of Revelation, the coming of Armageddon, this very sick end times from Christian eschatology viewed from a Christian nationalist perspective. Let's make sure we understand what that is. If you're an evangelical Christian, that's fine. We have those on our staff. We have those folks. They're wonderful, who defend us. They donate. They're clients. But if you're a fundamentalist Christian nationalist, you are not that way. Christian nationalists do not want a constitutional republic based on our democracy. They want a country, the way I would describe it would be like Gilead out of The Handmaid's Tale with Margaret Atwood. If you saw the Hulu series based on that, they want it's a severe, oppressive, maniacal Christian republic that is infused with anti-Semitism, especially misogyny, racism, Islamophobia, homophobia, and transphobia. We've seen this before when Israel, the IDF, invaded Gaza and started their genocidal attack on the Palestinians. We had the same complaints that people in military power, supervisors, commanders, were saying, "This is it. We're about to start that match, and we got to get that grand party going." Grand party, they're promised a 200-mile-long river. Jeff Norman, Ryan Milton, and Morgan. A 200-mile-long river filled with nothing but the human blood of those that their version of weaponized Jesus has slaughtered at the Battle of Armageddon. It's a lot of blood, and it's a lot of bloodlust. And if you look back at our history, whenever you have an extremist version of any Christian faith, particularly fundamentalist Christianity, merged with that part of the state that makes war, why, my friends, we do not end up with little babbling brooks, streams or creeks, or ponds or pools or lakes. We end up with oceans and oceans of blood. I want to give you a little anecdote because I know we don't have too much time. I want to go till I drop here. When we first started the foundation over 20 years ago, and by the way, I don't want to sound like a dick, but we have 8 Nobel Peace Prize nominations, including one for this year. But the last 5 have come from prior winners of the Nobel Peace Prize, one of whom is a longtime advisory board member. I'm doing that not for narcissism, but for necessity of trying to buttress our credibility. We've been out about a year and a half, starting to get in the media. We maybe had 800 clients. We again nothing near the way past 100,000 we have now. When I got a call one day from Tokyo, Japan, from the Kyoto News Service, I hadn't even heard of them, but they're like the AP. They're huge, all in the Far East. They asked if I would accept them sending out one of their reporters from Tokyo all the way here to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I mean, we're chartered out of Washington, D.C. We're all over the country and the world, but with our representatives. But I was stunned. I said, "Yeah, that's a long way to go. What does he want to talk about?" He goes, "He'll explain when he gets to your office." So next week, in walks this gentleman, a graduate of Tokyo University, which is their version of Harvard. We sit down. He could have been nicer, and he spoke English perfectly. He said, "You're probably wondering why I came out here." I said, "I am." He said, "Let me tell you why. In 1936, our country invaded Manchuria, Mikey. And on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, we bombed your Pearl Harbor on the island of Oahu. We did that because we allowed our military to become infused with fundamentalist Shintoism. As I tell you guys now, I get goosebumps on my arm." And he says, "We're watching what you're fighting right now in America, and we're scared here. We're the only country that's ever had nuclear weapons deployed against it. August 6th and August 9th, 1945. So we're scared." I never forgot that. And in this case, we're talking about an extremist version of religiosity, a perverse version, but it is the version that is the jet fuel and animates MAGA. It is called Christian nationalism. Every month since May of last year, little Petey Kegseth, keg is in, since we're talking about wine, those things that hold beer, Kegseth holds a Jesus praise service during the duty day in the largest auditorium of our Pentagon, in uniform with people, televised on Channel 2, Pentagon's channel, and it's reserved and put in their video library called DVIDs, praising Jesus. Why is anyone surprised that subordinate commanders all over the world in the military would look at that and go, "Hey, he's one of us. We're one of him." And the way for us to get ahead is to support that. Tuesday, February 17th was his last one. He'll do one again this month. The invitation that went out is on our website. It's a black background with a cross. "The Secretary of War invites you." Oh, the optics. Black background. Secretary of War invites you to his prayer service. This time he brought in his favorite pastor, Pastor Doug Wilson, who's a great guy. He just thinks that women shouldn't have the right to vote. Women should be consigned to spreading their legs, getting pregnant, raising children, going to the grocery store, selecting food, cooking food, cleaning up after food after they serve it. He also believes that slavery in the United States was fully justified biblically, And he reminds us that many slave owners had a pretty amicable relationship with their slaves. You know, like they like their living room furniture the same way.
Right.
Muslims have cannot be trusted. Jews killed Jesus. If you're LGBTQIA plus, you probably don't deserve to live. Gilead, out of The Handmaid's Tale. No American democracy. So again, when you see that, why would you be surprised that commanders all over would sit there and do the same thing to the full extent that they possibly can?
Mikey, I want to address something with our audience really quickly because of what you're saying. This is not new. I actually dug up a Newsweek article that referenced you and your organization in 2009 because you had people like Lieutenant General William Boykin going around talking about the Army of God. And even before that, but you might have talked about him, there was Jim Ammerman, that was supposedly a Green Beret colonel, CIA official, tied in with people like Timothy McVeigh and the militia movement, promoting exactly the same thing. And that, in his case, it was overthrow of the government. So you said church and state, but isn't this a case where state is controlling church?
Yes, but perhaps yes, and vice versa. State is laying down and saying they become one alloy together. By the way, Ammerman, we sued him because he was doing an imprecatory prayer. If you know what a fatwa is in Islam, where you call for someone to be killed, he was calling for me to be killed, but by praying certain aspects from the Old Testament. So we sued him. He's dead. He died.
Yeah.
I remember drinking some wine that day as well. So this is a fusion of the most radicalized version of Christianity, tortured version you could imagine, festooned with the repellent stench, the putrescent aromas of hatred of women, people of color, Jews, anyone who doesn't meet the approved solution for a human being, which is four things: straight, white, fundamentalist Christian nationalist, and male. And again, if you find Christian nationalism, which is there, it's not just in professional sports and college sports. You see the football players with the crosses under their helmets, they're painted on their, they're pushing it their way as well. But when you find it in public elementary schools, my friends, middle schools, high schools, colleges, public sewage workers, cops, firefighters, and legislatures. My son is a Democratic state senator in the state of Ohio. When you see it there, it's terrible. But it's never so terrible as when you find it inextricably intertwined with our weapons of mass destruction.
Well, what's going on right now, Mikey? Is it your organization that's fielding all these complaints that we see reported in the news?
Ours and only ours. They're not going to go to the ACLU or other organizations. That's nice, but I don't know whether any of the three of you have been in the military, but we understand the peculiarly tribal, adversarial, communal, and ritualistic nature of the military. In the military, if you're even being gently evangelized by your military superior, get the F out of my face, sir or ma'am, is not an option for you because that's insubordination. In the military, having sexual intercourse with someone other than your spouse, adultery, is a felony because it destroys good order, morale, discipline, unit cohesion, health and safety of the troops, and mission accomplishment, which is considered to be the compelling governmental interest that our Supreme Court found in 1974 in a case called Parker versus Levy. The bottom line is, if you tell anyone that they lack honorability, courage, intelligence, trustworthiness, and bravery because of their chosen religious faith or lack thereof, why, my friends, there is no difference between that and telling someone they're stupid because of the color of their skin or because they were born female. So we are dealing with a U.S. military freaking out of control. We just attacked a country that was intimidating us to the same degree that Mickey Mouse was. It's ridiculous, except it's going to be paid oceans and oceans of blood. The pogroms, one second, Morgan. The Holocaust, the Inquisition, the 8 Crusades from the 11th century through the 13th. We look exactly like the 9th version of that. That picture, can you put it back up again of Hegseth with his tattoos? Look at the right bicep. Dus Volt. That is the gang cry of the Crusaders. God wills it. God wills it. Our framers in this country, our constitutional framers, Madison, Jefferson, Franklin, all of them, they looked very carefully at European history, where most of the bloodbaths that had occurred there had been when men of the cloth had been men in political power. They didn't stop there. They looked at Cromwell in England. They didn't have to leave our shores. They looked at the Salem witch trials, and they said, not here. It wasn't just the First Amendment separation of church and state, temporal and spiritual. They put in something most Americans have forgotten or maybe never even knew enough to forget. They put in Clause 3, Article 6 of the Constitution. We will never have a religious test for any position in our federal government. Well, I'm here to tell you that when you join the U.S. military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Space Force, by the way, do you know what they're called in the Space Force? You don't, right?
No.
Guardians, like the Cleveland baseball team. Oh. When you join them, you're in the federal government. And what Hegseth has done is created a de facto religion test. So again,
can you tell us about the complaints you're getting and what your organization can do when you get the complaints?
Yes, you can go to mrff.org and see it. The complaints, I don't even like to say that. Complaints are kind of like, oh, I've got a little cough in my mouth, I better go see my doctor. I use that as an example, Jeff, because if you got a tickle in your throat like that, you might cough it out. If it gets worse, you might gargle with some hot water and some salt. You might take a throat lozenge. If it gets worse, you might go to your doctor, and he or she might give you an antibiotic. If that doesn't work, they may have to go to surgery to get your adenoids and tonsils out. By the time they come to us, they're in the adenoids and tonsils stage. It's not mere complaints. So when people say that, they're already in a position of being terrified. They're not used to going to a third-party NGO, but we've never come within light years of revealing the identity of any of our clients. They're hearing their command chain offer as justification for this non-congressionally approved, unprovoked attack on Iran as being in full fulfillment of the Christian nationalist wet dream put forth by their interpretation of Revelation and the Battle of Armageddon, and that we're almost here. Jesus needs us. They've referred to things like Trump being the signal. He's lit the signal fire for Jesus to come back because, Jesus needs our help. General Boykin, we defeated him many times. He was famous for saying, Revelation says Jesus will come back. He'll be on his white horse with the sword. Boykin says no. He'll have an AR-15 with him, not a sword. This is the country that we have now.
Right there.
This is all part of Project 2025, which for MAGA is their version. Hitler had Mein Kampf. He didn't hide anything what he was going to do. Neither did MAGA. They wrote it out in a 1,000-page document, and they are implementing it. So members of our military don't feel comfortable calling up a reporter saying, excuse me, my commander just said this and that. Jeff, other things happened too. The next day on Sunday, commanders invited subordinates to come to their homes for Bible studies, to be able to interpret what was happening in Iran the right way. We use the verb voluntold. When your military superior suggests something to you, you're being ordered to do it. You're being voluntold. Your military superior, have any of you ever been in the military? None of you?
No.
Okay. Your military superior is not your shift manager at Starbucks or your boss at IBM. They have total control over you. As I said before, if you're even being gently evangelized, you can't fight back because insubordination is a felony. In fact, if you're ordered to go to the base dentist at 1,600 hours and you don't go, it's a felony. So this is an extremely serious thing. If you don't know about some of our other viral things, check out Jesus nukes. Check out Jesus rifles. We went viral with those too. Not like now, but Jesus rifles. Every rifle in the American military inventory on its scope had embedded in metal the biblical citations from the synoptic gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and the non-synoptic gospel of John, and from Revelation. A $2 billion contract was let to a Michigan defense contractor called Trigicon. The TRI stands for Trinity, and they put them on there. Our soldiers and Marines were walking into Kandahar and into Iraq, all over Afghanistan with these Jesus rifles. Google it. We blew it up. It turns out that not only every rifle in the American military were they filled with that, all of our NATO rifles were there. I'm not done. All of the IDF rifles had them on there too. Mm-hmm. Jesus nukes, 68 nuclear missile launch officers in the Air Force came to us because they were being indoctrinated with what was called the Jesus Loves Nukes PowerPoint. We got it under FOIA. Oh wow. My God, you take a look at that. Jesus wants you to launch the nuclear weapons. We've been there before. Now, who's ever listening to this podcast, You can't just sit there for the rest of your life and do three things you've been doing anyway, which is circulate blood, reflect light, and breathe. Get off your asses. Do like the people of Minneapolis. Get out there. Call your members of Congress. Donate to organizations like us who fight this. We're nonprofits. We're out there fighting.
Can you be more specific? In fact, more specific. I don't think you've been specific at all about what your organization does after service members contact you.
Yes, when they contact us, we generally, most of our clients don't want us to do anything at all with regard to going public. The vast majority, our standard operating procedure, we verify the complaint. We have a bunch of ways of doing that. And then we go 2 levels above the offender and go to that commander 2 levels above. We're at the point now, we've been around so long that back in the day when 60 Minutes and Mike Wallace knocked on your door, nobody wanted to hear that. I won't even watch CBS now with Barry Weiss there. But we indicate that we're here. These are what your members of your organization, your unit, are telling us. We'd like you to fix it, and if not, we'll put it into the media. We're very, very effective at getting it to go away. Unfortunately, oftentimes it's like a weed whacker. It goes away, and the behavior comes back again, Jeff, a few months later. If we have to, we will help them file an IG or EEO complaint, but that outs them, but we'll do it. And next thing we can do is help them file an Article 138 complaint, which is a very powerful tool under the Military Criminal Code to file against a commander. The complaint goes all the way to the service secretary. But everybody in the Pentagon is MAGA now. They're all MAGA. So we don't expect much of anything to happen.
I wanted to get your take on this broader scope. People think military, people think weapons, tanks, airplanes. But with technology, we have drones, AI that is coming into play. And you have a person, Palantir, the person like Peter Thiel, who actually holds seminars on the Antichrist in the Beverly Hills.
Right.
What is your take on, what your organization's kind of doing on that front? Because it's Palantir, they did the AI drone system that was in Gaza, the Hey Daddy, Lavender, where the majority of the people were civilians that were being drone striked and basically murdered their entire families.
Right.
That's coming. That's going to be used in Iran. That's going to be used in other wars, potentially now surveillance at home.
Well, so Mikey, what is Morgan talking about exactly for our audience?
The bottom line here is that she wants to know whether we are getting involved in some of the more advanced technology, weapon systems being fused into Pentagon policy. That isn't our job. Our job is if they see that Thiel is a Christian nationalist completely. Mm-hmm. So anything he touches involves this. He wants to bring around and expedite and serve as an accelerant and lubricant to bring back his version of Jesus. So that's why it's our business. We can't stop a contract at Palantir, but we can sit there and try to expose. Our job now with the Pentagon the way it is under MAGA is to do 4 things: to chronicle, expose, intervene, and attack. I'm doing this podcast because we're chronicling now. I've gone longer than I thought I would be able to go. But the thing is, at the Pentagon, there's 2 types of kryptonite that affects them. The first is being sued in federal court. We are currently suing my alma mater, the Air Force Academy, for being 3 years late on FOIA to go after a whole bunch of Christian stuff there. We're also suing the VA because if you walk into any VA hospital, they have their version of Target, the Patriot store, has nothing but Christian books in it. We want to see that contract that was let to Choice Books. They're 3 years late also, so we're suing them. But to sue in the federal court, that's one thing that terrifies them. The only other thing that terrifies them is what we're doing now, getting out in the media and letting everybody see what's there. I'm amazed at the degree, I shouldn't have been, the degree to which Americans and the world citizens are reaching out by the second to us everywhere. Keith Olbermann did his whole thing last night on this. So it's becoming, I've got 4 kids and 3 grandkids. Their friends are reaching out saying, "Oh, I saw your dad. I see what's going on. Is this real?"
Well, Mikey, let me just say is that there seems to be a big break in MAGA itself. One of the key people that is actually speaking out against building the third temple of King Solomon is Tucker Carlson. Of course, a lot of MAGA people on one hand say, he's dead to me, but he is. The Hodge twins, you've got Candace Owens, you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, you have many conservative Christians who they're not for transgender or whatever. They're opposing this also.
I hate to use the tried and true phrase, which will make you all groan, but politics makes strange bedfellows.
Oh yeah.
The people you mentioned, we have nothing but disdain for. I never ever want to see. Megyn Kelly's. I've done her show. Bill O'Reilly and others. I'm not going to track which MAGA people are at the throat of other MAGA people. All I know is that we're doing generational damage to the U.S. military. It will not be fixed by a midterm election that even restores blue to both houses. But here's my fear. I get asked all the time, hey, you guys haven't asked me yet, what do I see in the future? What keeps me up at night? We take both houses. The blue takes both houses in November. That means Trump will be impeached. He might actually be found guilty this time, the third time around. Any of the three of you think he's going to actually leave?
No.
I don't.
No. And also that brings
Civil
up something that Jeff and I and Morgan were talking about beforehand was the question of the legality of the war. And both of the House and the Senate just voted to not stop what's happening. So can you address that? You're a lawyer, I believe, also.
Yes, I am. And, to me, it's the height of both hypocrisy and cowardice that they are not stopping this. We're seeing the same thing. Like in the VA, there's they took Trump's executive order to weed out, to hunt out and eliminate anti-Christian bias in the federal government, in the military, and in the VA. That's a hunt for a unicorn. There are no unicorns. There's nothing but pro-Christian bias. So we're seeing, and at the VA, if you see something and you don't turn it in, you're as guilty as the person doing it to another poor Christian, right? You saw Trump bring those immigrants in from South Africa because of that massive anti-white, anti-Christian stuff in Nigeria. It's utterly complete bullshit. That's what it is, and this is what we're dealing with now. But at some point, our kids and grandkids are going to ask, assuming we survive this, assuming there isn't a civil war that we can't survive. I see it. I feel it. I don't want it to happen, but our kids will ask mommy and daddy, grandma and grandpa, what did you do during this time to stop it? And there better be an answer, whether you're in the streets or whether you're in a restaurant, movie theater, walking around outside at an event and you hear somebody talking about it, speak up. Don't be silent. Granulate the process to our destruction. Don't lubricate it. And look, I paid.
Let me just say that I think the Trump administration created sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because now that Congress voted on it, they're voting on it in the middle of the conflict. So that's what Congress had to assess, is what is the danger now, which would have been different if they were asked prior to. I
know, Jeff, I don't see it that way. No. I don't want to overcomplicate things and create a complex deal like Chateaubriand. From my perspective, you have me on the show as a subject matter expert. I live and breathe this all the time. This is a simple hamburger. You can't use your position of military authority to force your religion on somebody else. And I don't give a shit about. I was on the West Wing of the White House for 3+ years with Reagan. I was the committee management officer for the Iran-Contra investigation. I'm still a registered Republican, just haven't found one I can vote for 30 years. And so I'm not going to sit there, the timing wasn't right. You talk about subhumans and cowards, people like Lindsey Graham. I can barely say his name without wanting to projectile vomit. And as I said before, there's a price to be paid. I'm a public figure. I didn't ask to be one. If you're a professional athlete or a Hollywood actor, I'm sure it could be cool. If you do what I do, it's not cool. It's lonely, dangerous, brutal, and expensive. And like I said, we get about 12 to 18 fairly grotesque threats on a daily basis. We've had the windows shot out of our house on 2 occasions. We've had innocent animals beheaded and disemboweled, left on the front of the house. I'm Jewish, not that religious, but swastikas and crucifixes painted on the house, beer bottles and feces thrown at the house, feces smeared on these dogs you see are not pets. They're elite level German Shepherd attack and protection dogs. We have to carry weapons wherever we go. We have a close relationship. I just had a $20,000 bounty put on my head to kill me about 3 weeks ago, and $5,000 for each of our staff members. So, it's a full contact sport, and that's difficult. So it is what it is.
You said you disagree with me, but I don't know. I don't even know what you disagree with.
I thought you were trying to find.
I don't think he wants to parse over
I'm not going to sit there and give an excuse to Congress that we already did the war. It would look bad now if we said it wasn't justified.
They could stop it now, couldn't they, Mikey?
Not just that it would look bad, but if the troops were to withdraw, do you think that Iran would just say, "Okay, we're not going to do anything now"? I mean, I'm not trying to justify the original.
I don't know, man. And that's conjecture. We could talk about that all night. I need to give you guys the NFL 2-minute warning. I've gone way
I know, yes, we are so.
Appreciate it.
I'm grateful because I like your format. I like your intro. I like all three of you guys. And so I'm giving you more than I thought I'd be able to do. But if there's something else, we can give us about 120-second wrap up here, because I have other media stacked up here. So
okay,
Yes.
how are we going to
to
jam it up? How are we going to stop the process? Okay, because the Iraq War went on, what, 8.5 years?
we have the ability to try to have fair and safe elections to get these people out. My wife and I have never voted for the president of the United States, yet we voted in every presidential election. I served as one of Reagan's attorneys. I can tell you that we vote for the U.S. Supreme Court because they're not just there for 4 years, they're there forever. We have a miserable court right now. It's miserable. And so the best we can do is to try to get back control in Congress because right now MAGA has control. They control everything. And it's wherever you look, the first Trump administration, at least we had a layer of senior civilians at the Pentagon and some senior military that were there. But now under Project 2025, if you didn't notice, they created Schedule F. They eliminated all of these senior civilians. There's nobody there we can go to. So that's why we must chronicle, get out in the media, and we try this not in the federal court, which ultimately goes to the Supreme Court, and they pretty much rubber stamp everything except for the, right now the tariffs. We go to a different court, the Court of Public Opinion, and that's why I'm here with Weiners today, and I'm doing everything else because if you're listening to this, I want to, I won't be, yes, I will not be happy until I make you unhappy. Be unhappy. I want to give you a quote before we leave from the girlfriend of Bob Dylan, Joan Baez. Action is the antidote to despair, to answer your question. Take action. You will know what to do. I've laid it out. Demonstrate. Contribute to organizations like MRFF and others that you feel that are out there that are fighting it. You won't take the threats. You won't have people calling in saying they're going to blow your wife's head off and capture her blood and then rape her in the bathtub. We get that shit all the time. We'll do it for you. We'll be the point of the spear. Find these organizations like ours and others. Make signs. Go to demonstrations. Stand up. Do the No Kings rallies. Be like people in Minneapolis.
What happened?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mikey. I really appreciate you joining us and all the work that you do in your organization and helping veterans, find their voice again and not be afraid of this religious extremism that has infected every inch of our, from our Senate to our House to, now even the military. And like I was getting at is, even the contractors are now being religious zealots.
In fact, I'll say one last thing before I go. Eisenhower was famous for his most famous speech, right? It was his last speech. It was the farewell speech where he warned America and the world about the military-industrial complex. What we fight here at MRFF is nothing less than a fundamentalist Christian nationalist, parachurch, congressional, corporate, military proselytizing complex. It's enormous.
Excellent.
And you guys, sorry, the dogs are actuating. Guys, I'm holding a pen here, right? I just dropped it. What? You don't have to be a physicist. Why did that pen drop?
Gravity.
That is exactly how ubiquitous and inextricably intertwined into the U.S. military Christian nationalism is. It's gravity. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Mikey. MRFF.org. Check it out.
Help us out, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mikey.
All right.
Woo.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah. Last night, Scott Ritter was saying there's no place for for what did he say? For religion in the military, and now have
No place for God on the battlefield. That was
thank you,
that was
Jeff.
The money quote.
It was a quote. So now we have the high priest of that message on the show. That was very good. As Alex Lithium said, he's like an AK-47 or an AR-15 shooting truth bombs there.
Right.
Yeah.
I wish I wasn't so censored and restrained by this whole situation. Mikey said he thinks that Trump should be impeached. He didn't even say for what. I guess the implication is related to the war, since that's what we were talking about. So I'm really not thrilled with the idea that allegation can be made. Yet when I want to talk about, well, is it really legal? Then that's off limits. I don't like that.
You asked if you want to talk about what's legal, this war being legal. I don't think that is a necessary point to put our time and resources into act. Is this war legal? You have your government who is engaging in another endless war that's going to get millions of people killed. Legitimate people are going to be bombed. You just had a school where you had over 100 little girls blown to smithereens. I don't want to have a discussion of, does the American laws make that okay? it's not okay.
Yeah, well, you may not be
It's
able to
not
stop
okay.
it you may not be able to stop it if you're so disinterested in whether it's legal or not. And I wasn't just talking about you. Mikey
The government
brought up.
can contort the
Let me-
laws,
let
just
me-
like they
can I
have been
finish?
doing
Can
since
I finish,
9/11
please?
to make sure that it's legal. Make sure that,
Mikey said that he wants Trump to be impeached. So, so I'm not allowed to
every
address it.
president since that has been in my lifetime has legitimate claims that they need to be impeached upon. So I don't understand why that's like such a controversial take. Trump has done so much legal action, just like Obama, just like Bill Clinton, just like Biden. It's not like this very liberal stance. I mean, I don't get why that's such a
Well, I don't know why you're framing it that way. I didn't say it's such a controversial thing. I'm simply saying that since he brought it up, I wanted to discuss whether or not what makes it an impeachable offense. That's all.
Well, I think he's done a lot of impeachable actions. I mean, right now, what he's doing, unilaterally kidnapping a sovereign country's leader in Venezuela, or doing what he's doing right now in Iran.
Okay, well, that's you, but I thought he was talking about the war, so that's what I was focusing on. There may very well be some impeachable offenses. My focus isn't whether or not Trump is wonderful or whether or not he's done anything impeachable. My focus was on whether or not the war is legal.
So one thing I will say on this, just thinking about the way Scott Ritter and others have talked about, for example, Scott keeps referring to things like the Caroline affair from the 1800s when we had a ship going, I guess, north, and the British destroyed it near the coast of Canada. I probably don't have all the facts right, but the point was they knew that an attack was coming. To my understanding from Larry C. Johnson, Scott, and other military people, there was nothing coming at us on this. Remember, Trump said that the issue was to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. The guy
Right.
that
It wasn't justified, but that doesn't mean it was illegal. Here, look at this part of the War Powers Act. It says the president is supposed to consult with Congress before introducing armed forces into hostilities. So if I were allowed to ask the legal expert, I would have said, well, what does that mean? I don't see that it says that they need their approval. And I hear people making the argument that as long as they talk to the Gang of Eight, that suffices for consulting. And so if you don't want this to keep continuing with further, in subsequent administrations, it might be good to get a handle on what actually is legal.
But we even talked about it behind the show that, what Nazi Germany was doing was technically legal. So if we just kind of sit there and say, well, it's legal. So, let's just go ahead and bomb all the people we want because it's legal.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that, but that's not my position at all. And there may be particular acts that are war crimes too. I'm just saying that the whole idea of initiating military action, I'm not even arguing. I'm asking for an explanation. I hear a lot of the people we respect saying it's illegal, and I'm like, okay, maybe it is, but then what does it mean when I see the War Powers Act saying that they just need to consult with Congress?
Doesn't there need to be an immediate threat that's done upon the United States for that to be even, because a president can't just be like, oh, let me bomb Mexico, even though Mexico is just like sitting there chilling.
Yeah. Well, no, that was the point, Morgan, back with Mexico and Abraham Lincoln, because it had been said that they had shot American soldiers on American soil, and he wanted to see where it was, and it turns out they were not on American soil. That's the whole thing about what happened with Polk and Lincoln. And I mean, the thing is, American presidents do keep doing this regardless of party. And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, your point is to figure out, using the laws as they exist, to figure out how you stop that cycle. You're not saying, hey, nobody stopped it, so therefore we should just keep going. You're not saying
not at all. Not at all. I think that we should always be clear about whether or not we're making a policy argument or a legal argument. I mean, it's like being an adult about it. Now, the Secretary of State claimed that what you just said, Morgan, actually did exist, and it's kind of like a weird argument.
But the Pentagon said there was no.
No, I know, but the Secretary of State said, I'm not saying he was right, but I just want to mention what he said. He said that they were told that Israel was going to attack, and therefore they knew that Iran would respond by, attacking the U.S.
Well, let's take a look at that right now here. I have that actually.
The assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
Yeah, I just suspect that it needs to be more of a policy argument than a legal argument. I suspect that, but I want to be edified.
Okay.
What it is, I will say this about what Rubio says. It's convoluted because he says, well, Israel's going to attack them, and then Iran's going to attack back to us. And so to prevent that attack back to us, we're going to attack them.
Right.
It's convoluted because it seems to me if Israel's going to attack Iran, Iran would attack Israel, not us.
Well, I think we're one of the same at this point. I don't see daylight between Israel.
Maybe that's true, right? That could be true. But I'm just saying, going based on
look how Iran's responding. They're going after all the allies, all the Arab states that are assisting and so forth. So it's not completely crazy. I guess you could make up almost any excuse to say that there was an imminent threat. Although I don't even know if that word imminent is in there, and I'm not sure that's everything that's relevant in the War Powers Act. That's just a section that I
now, Morgan, you were saying earlier, right? That the War Powers Act of 1973, every president since Gerald Ford has used that resolution to initiate or justify military actions, Vietnam, Yugoslavia, Libya, Iraq, drone strikes in the Middle East. So whereas I think what you're talking about is a formal declaration of war. That's the Congress only can declare war.
But that's where we're like, if you bomb another country, that is a declaration of war. You are declaring war on another nation. If you bomb another,
it's not declaring. It's an act of war. It's not declaring.
No,
it is an
act.
I
think you're declaring war. I mean, it's not like.
You're saying it amounts to that.
It amounts to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
so I mean, but we legally parse the words like, oh no, it's not technically because it's just a single strike and it was just no. You are declaring war on a sovereign nation. If you drop a bomb on another nation, if you do an act of war on another nation, if another country dropped a missile on our country, you think we would say, oh, that's just a limited strike? No, that's them declaring war on us.
Well,
they didn't have to have a whole, debate, maybe not, but they should have, just like we need to, because technically that is a declaration of war.
I just think the solution is to try to get presidents and Congress members who will do the right thing rather than.
I think that's the point.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? Because you got an American population. Look, I'll be honest with you, Morgan and Jeff, I don't know what you think. I think there are more of the Christian evangelicals who want to make Jesus come back early so that they don't have to pay their taxes that are pushing this than Jews.
Yeah, that's even a known thing with the Jewish Zionists. They know that
there's not that many Jews who want it compared to Christians.
Because they'll be asked, like, why are you allying yourself with Christian Zionists when you know the end goal of the Christian Zionists to have you perish so their their Jesus can come down and save them? And they say, well, sometimes the enemy of the enemy is the friend because the ends justify the means. So it's absolutely absurd. And there is a lot more Christian Zionists, especially in America. And
that's true.
One dangerous thing is that they're united. They go to church every Sunday. Their pastors tell them who
to
to vote for.
I know. I used to be in the militias. That's why I brought up Jim Ammerman because he was in the Prophecy Club. I used to go to the Prophecy Club when I was a kid. Now let me just mention Lonesome Fugitive. That this is potentially this is a war crime, as you were saying, Jeff. The one Iranian ship that was off the coast of India that was attacked wasn't even in any combat position. It wasn't,
Right.
doing anything.
Right.
So that was.
We were talking about that last night and asked the inspector. Yeah.
Yeah,
What did you guys say?
and this is just like to have everyone be mindful of what side they're on. That ship was called Soleimani, which was General Soleimani that we bombed, the first Trump administration, who is credited to knocking out ISIS, and we call him a bad guy, even though the American taxpayer is right now paying for planes to be filled with ISIS members out of northern Syria to send them to the border of Iran and Iraq, to the prisons in Iraq, supposedly. But it kind of seems like there's this other kind of, end goal, because why would American taxpayers be footing the bill to move ISIS prisoners from northern Syria? Upwards to 75,000, by the way. And there's not really even reports on this.
Well, see, that's the thing we were going to talk about also, because there is a lot of misinformation on all kinds of things. Where I can't remember. Maybe.
Well, that's not misinformation at all.
Well, no. I was just going to say.
U.S. official.
Hold on. We don't even have to listen to what the guy is saying. But for example, Fox News had been talking about the Iraqi Kurds launching the ground offensive. This was yesterday, and they pulled the story off of their X account because, in fact, to my knowledge, this is still not happening. So there's a lot of information warfare too.
Well, I'd imagine that's probably the route that the American government and the CIA is going to go.
They're
just
trying
like
for
Syria.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're trying to do that. That was on CNN, that CIA is trying to get the Kurds to do that.
There's also ordinary people doing it. I mean, all the time there's all this disinformation all over social media.
Yeah, disinformation. Yeah, but I'm saying like the CIA and American and other intelligence forums are going to try and push more instability in Iran through radical groups, just like we did funding Operation Cyclone all the way back to pushing out the Soviets in Afghanistan. Look where that's gotten us. It's the oldest trick in the book.
So here's a few tweets that were incorrect. It's fighter jets dominating the skies of Tehran, says the poster. Then it turns out that that's actually an Iranian plane. Now, the average person isn't going to look at that and know, right? You would say, oh, okay, that's what's going on. And it's both sides. It's not limited in any way. Here is, this shows an Iranian strike in Bahrain, but the person who posted it says it was a hit in northern Israel. Mm-hmm. So X has this thing with community notes, so I guess that works to some extent. Yeah. Here's one that they got what happened and the location correct, but it was not from this particular episode. This is from the 12-day war. And then here's one that's an AI image. And here is game footage. Now,
video game footage.
Yeah. This is one of the most amazing videos I've ever seen. It doesn't even look real. Well, maybe because it isn't.
Well, actually, there was one about the I forget what they call the laser, the so-called Israeli laser. That's part of the new. Anyway, they were showing videos, and it was a video game of lasers. That this is something that's not even in active functioning use at all.
Right. Well, it's always been the case, but now because of AI and the explosion of social media and so forth, it's really, really tough. Scott was saying last night how he has been embarrassed when he's gotten a few things wrong, and then he admits it later. So now he's a little bit more careful, and he's a highly reliable source, and and I think maybe more than the average person, we pay very close attention to I think I'll compliment all three of us. I think we have good taste in recognizing reliable analysts, and I think we pay very close attention to more so than maybe the average person. But you're never 100% sure anymore. Really
the one thing I will say, I agree with you. You're never 100% sure, and there's always this fog of war thing. But one thing I will say is originally this was 3 days. It was going to be to free the people, and then they could choose their leader. And then it's become now weeks, and in terms of what they say we're going to do, and then in the last day, maybe it was, President Trump said he now will choose the next leader of Iran. So, and then you do see the B2s and the B1s pretty much laying Tehran flat, right? Morgan, you've probably seen that, but it's starting to look like Gaza. And so I've talked to people in Iran who have Starlink. So those are the few people that can actually speak out of Iran. So he says there are people who are opposed to the Ayatollah. They're opposed to the theocracy. They're in the streets, though, because they're like, hey, wait a second, you're leveling our entire country, our major cities. And again, these are our problems to solve, not somebody else outside. And same
well, to your
thing
point, Ryan, yeah, we had Igor Lopatnak on, who had that film, Iran, the Great Game, where he spoke about the Iranians, are very, very skeptical about any Western intervention in their country because, what have happened in the 1950s. They know that the U.S. is not going to act, what's in the best interest for the Iranians. And just for people to have that kind of theory in their head, like, people are cheering about it. People would be cheering in the streets if, there was a bomb dropped on the White House and killed, Trump. There are people like that.
Yeah,
but
yeah. But the question is how many. The question is,
you're right. You're right.
No, it's not the right thing, and it's also you don't really know what the ratio is. What percentage of the people are that you. In other words, you could put a video of 2,000 people demonstrating one way or the other, and that doesn't tell you what the rest of the population.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of it blows my mind how you have kind of this Iranian diaspora that is like cheering for the murder of a leader, and thinking that it's going to end well. We have, during the 12-day war, you had Israel, they're still bombing, U.S. and Israel, they're still bombing Iran, even though they've gotten the objective goal. And this is how trigger happy we were that initial night. Trump came out and he said that the person that they were going to put in power, they murdered like 3 tiers down of what they initially wanted to step up into the ruling, But mind you, people, they didn't just murder them like just walking home and it was just like a little ball that they dropped on their head. They murdered their entire families.
Yeah. Well, one thing, Hassan is one of our regular viewers. He's in Iran, and ever since the war started, I sent him a message on X, and I've been going to his feed to see if there's any word from him, and it's complete silence. And hopefully, it's only because Iran's government cut the internet, and I hope that he's safe. But one thing that I would like to ask him or anybody is, and I get that the argument that, Iran certainly is going to side with its own government when the U.S. is bombing them. But one thing I would like to ask them is how they feel about their government cutting off the internet. If that happened here, people would be apeshit. I mean, we wouldn't hear about it because it wouldn't be on the internet. But
I think that other countries. Sorry, were you finished?
Well, I mean, don't you think that if it happened here, that it would be very hard to feel good about our government if they did that?
Well, yeah, but I think that if you understand, if you watch, foreign policy, foreign politics, you understand how the American government works. They utilize the National Endowment for Democracy and other agencies to inject into social media. We have that's happened in Signal, Telegram, to provoke color revolutions.
Yeah.
And that is why you have places that, America will be like, oh, they're so authoritarian. But it's because we are trying to inject into their country destabilizing measures so that people can go and rise up and take down a leader so we can install one that will, bend to our will. And I think that more people than we realize understand that. And it is probably an unfortunate nuisance that they have to deal with, but I think that they are cognizant of the fact that there are larger games at play, that Mossad even came out when the demonstrations in Iran were happening and was being very boisterous and annoying at the fact that they were saying, "Oh, we're with you not only in theory but like in reality." What kind of quote? I forgot the legitimate quote that they had or they posted on X, where it was like, "We're walking beside you in spirit and in reality." Where they were literally saying that they had Mossad agents, but that was like a psyop kind of operation they were trying to do on the Iranian government to basically kill the people, because they're saying, hey, these are actually Mossad agents, because they did that during the 12-day war, where they had kind of like mass people that they were executing that they thought they were Mossad agents.
So somebody said Professor Morandi is still doing interviews, but he's in the vast minority. Now, I don't know how much we can trust AI.
That's hard to see.
Oh, yeah, you can't. It's too small.
It's way, way too small.
All right, well, I'll take it up, but it says it's only 1% of normal internet access now. It's been a 99% reduction. People have, what do you call the Starlink thing, but it's illegal, and the government is finding ways to even curtail that. So that's...
So I would just say, by the way, Jeff, you were talking about Hassan. We do have other members of the Scott Ritter Telegram chat who are in Iran. As I said, some of them have Starlink, and that I talk to them regularly, and they talk about what's going on in their cities. Yeah.
And what are they saying?
They're saying what I'm saying is that there is a much more unified view across the country, across people who don't support the regime, who now support, and that everybody's out in the streets. I think yesterday they launched one of their newest missiles, and he said that the resolve just is growing. So as Tehran is flattened more, their resolve in the population is growing. And I think today we had the foreign minister, was it the foreign minister of Iran was on NBC News, and I actually had posted this on Facebook, and he was asked about, the potential of boots on the ground, and he said, do you think this is going to happen? And he said, we expect it, and we're ready, we're waiting. So that is the attitude that I see increasingly there. And then on this question of the legality, I was looking up some of the typical things that, fact check and so forth.
More dangerous than Ryan spontaneously doing legal research in the middle of the show.
I'm going to...
You really drove Morgan crazy. At least I thought about it before. But go ahead. Tell us your spontaneous...
So I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. So Marco Rubio claims that the members of Congress were informed consistent with current law.
That's what I was saying. The Gang of Eight was consulted.
Well, I didn't. Yeah, that's right. And then there are Peter Shane, who's a constitutional law scholar and professor at New York University School of Law, said that it's difficult to give a definitive answer on the constitutionality of such military actions because there is so much disagreement about how the Constitution should be interpreted with regard to the unilateral presidential deployment of military force. So it's like goes in circles. So I think, therefore, it's not necessarily going to be solved by finding the law that says it's going to have to be. Leave it up to people like Morgan.
Thank you, my very bald friend, who we missed last week. Morgan, we got through it without him, but you were hanging out with Bobby Kennedy. Did you challenge him to a push-up contest or do anything?
He was right there next to me, and I didn't have a chance to. But we were both surrounded by a lot of federal marshals, so I figured I wasn't going to challenge him.
That would have been great if you were dragged away by federal marshals, especially if there was video of it. But I want to congratulate you. We're a little bit, pessimistic about the mindset of our people. We're not exercising great discernment when it comes to voting. But the people of Texas ended Jazzy Crockett's career, which I suppose is a good thing. Although I understand that what's the guy's name that won Tarico? Is that his name?
Tarico, yeah.
I think he might be a religious freak or something too. Are you guys familiar with him?
Well, he's had an interesting case. I think I'm not sure on the religious aspect, but I know that his whole thing is that he calls what's happening in Palestine a genocide. But his primary donor, largest person or the largest donation that he's received from a person is Marian Adelson. So, yeah. So, and he.
Well, thank you, Stephen Colbert, for saving that. Yeah. We taketh, we giveth on one hand and we taketh on another, right?
I mean, I would say honestly, though, I feel like he is still better than Jasmine Crockett in the sense that she was coming from she was kind of a Christian Zionist. I don't think that, there was no amount of money that she needed to take to have those views to send another bomb to Israel, to probably cheer on what's happening in Iran. Whereas someone like this individual, maybe, it's unfortunate that money sways them, but.
Well, also, she was just a total clown. So we were talking about fake videos before. Let me show you guys two videos, and let's see if you can guess or know which of the two is real.
No.
Both featuring Jazzy Crockett. Okay, that's video number one. That's video number one. Hold your vote until the end. Hold your vote until the end. This is video number two. Which is the real one?
This one's too perfect to me. This one's way too perfect.
I made it too easy for you, actually. This one should be fake. But she actually
I'm kind of surprised. Yeah,
she posted that.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh yeah, sticking out the tongue. That's a nice move. Real good look.
Yeah,
real good.
The leaders
look.
that we have in office right now are not serious, and it's so ridiculous.
One is real. Mystery Man X. They're voting.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's sticking her tongue out because she's. You'll say I'm racist if I say it, but she made a choice to embrace this. I guess you would call it a ghetto act, where she talks in this particular way, even though she's a lawyer and she's educated, and she didn't used to talk that way. So, sorry, but I don't think it's racist to.
The thing is,
fake ghetto act.
They're idiots. They are idiots across the board, largely, and I think the lack of our leadership is why people are so pissed off. I mean, look at this Marine that we've been talking about, Brian Guinness. It's Guinness,
McGinnis,
right?
Yeah.
McGinnis broke his arm.
Yeah, we're trying to get him for next week. Any update on that, Morgan?
Oh no. I mean, he came out. His family came out and said that he really needs to recover because he had to go under surgery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we need
that was
to let him heal. But
the
you do have
senator, Tim Shishi, I believe that's how his name is, of Montana. He takes over $500,000 from AIPAC. He came out with a statement basically saying that this man was asking for trouble and he got it, and he was just this unhinged protester. Absurd statement, to make from someone you just aided in breaking that person's arm.
Yeah. Jose has never suffered any broken bones, right? He was just almost.
But that was just. It was. I have never seen those Capitol Police act so violent. Something was different that day. I mean, they came in, they tackled him. It was.
To them, it's sort of like it happens. It happens. I don't know about all the time, but I mean, it's not that rare, and it's usually just they kind of like when you did the thing with. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. Anthony, and what's the woman's name? That was Josephine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they was sort of like just routine. Okay, we have to arrest this. There was no hostility about it,
No, I mean those men that they jumped on him. I mean, Jose's probably he's probably been roughed up some. I mean, I think
remember they were choking him. Yeah, they were choking him out.
But that within Congress, it's the Capitol Police. I've never seen them act like that. So something must have happened prior. I know there was a video that kind of went viral of him yelling at Tom Tillis, them getting very, very heated.
From our beloved state of North Carolina, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well,
so all right. Well, I hope
Brian McGinnis, he's actually running for Senate in North Carolina.
Another veteran running. It's like a epidemic now. Veterans running for office.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
pretty
that's
soon
kind of what happens.
We may have some real humans of integrity in Congress soon. Speaking of humans of integrity, I guess it sounds like Mr. McGinnis won't be with us next week, but Matt Ho will be with us.
Yeah, and he ran for Senate. Well, he was going to run for Senate, and then the Democrats and Republicans joined together and to kick him off the ballot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you don't remember that? It was years ago. It was before
he ran on the Green Party ticket.
Politics, but that was a big thing back then. He had enough signatures.
When Anthony, you were out, your pal Anthony was on. You were out that week. We were actually talking about Matt's candidacy and what it takes to get on the ballot in North Carolina and so forth. Well, anyway, so join us next week when Matt Ho will be with us. I'm sure. Don't worry, we're not. You'll have your chance there, Ryan. Calm down. We didn't really pick a topic, but I assume that it'll be the Iran war, and it doesn't seem like it's going to end soon. So I think it's safe to assume that will be at least one of the topics with Matt Ho, who's one of the most articulate, interesting people out there. So I'm really looking forward to that. All right, Ryan, what is it you want to say?
Well, we frequently don't talk about things that we want to talk about, like books. And I thought this would be useful to put up. This is a book I have been reading. James Bradley, who wrote Flags of Our Fathers. His father was at Iwo Jima. He wrote this book recently. I would love to interview him. Precious Freedom, where he must have interviewed hundreds of soldiers and people in Vietnam. This is all about the war in Vietnam. The reason I think it's useful is that was really a big psychological war for Americans too, and brought in a lot of the cultural decline, if you will, cultural pessimism. Very good book on the effect on our population of these wars that we go into.
All right, well, let's add that to the U.S. Tour of Duty book club. We don't talk about that very much either. But the website is ustourofduty.org, and we have a book club there, some books that we've selected. So let's add that to the roster. Shall we call it a night, my beautiful humans?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Ryan and Morgan, and thanks to our beloved audience. Join us Tuesday night for Probable Cause. Next Wednesday, Ask the Inspector with Scott Ritter, and we'll be back next Thursday with The Whiners. Every show starts at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Take care, everybody.
Because there's no place at all for anybody who wears the uniform of the United States to be talking about God, Armageddon, end of days, or any of that. You do your damn job. If you want to be a preacher, quit the military and go be a preacher.